Starting January 1st, 2026, your passport might become completely useless overnight, even if it's not expired, and thousands of travelers are about to find out the hard way at airport security. Look, I've worked inside these systems long enough to know that when passport rules change, it's never gradual. It's sudden, it's strict. And border control agents, they don't care about your vacation plans or your non-refundable hotel. If your passport doesn't meet the new requirements, you're not boarding that plane. Period. And here's the thing most people don't realize. These aren't just minor tweaks. We're talking about complete overhauls to validity periods, biometric data requirements, emergency travel document protocols, and even how physical passport damage is assessed. This is the biggest shift in international travel documentation we've seen in over a decade. So today, I'm breaking down the 7 critical passport rules launching January 1st, 2026. The ones that'll either get you through security smoothly or strand you at check-in while everyone else boards. Let's get into it. Number 7. The 6-month validity rule just got stricter. Let's start with the one that catches more travelers than any other: passport validity requirements. Right now, most countries require your passport to be valid for at least 6 months beyond your travel dates. That's standard. But here's what's changing. Starting January 1st, that 6-month buffer now applies to your departure date from the foreign country, not your arrival date. Why does this matter? Because travelers constantly miscalculate. They think, I'm flying out March 15th. My passport expires October 1st. I've got almost 7 months. I'm good. Wrong. If your return flight is April 10th and your passport expires October 1st, you're now 5 months and 3 weeks out. You're getting denied at check-in. Here's the insider breakdown. Immigration systems at destination countries are being updated to automatically flag passports that don't meet this threshold. And airlines? They're liable for the cost of flying you back if you get rejected at immigration. So they're checking at departure, and they're not letting you board if there's even a shadow of doubt. The catch? Different countries interpret 6 months from departure differently. Some count it from your last day in country. Others count it from your booked return flight. And if you extend your trip, your passport better still be valid 6 months from that new departure date, or you're stuck. Bottom line, if your passport expires anytime in 2026, renew it now. Don't wait, don't risk it. Number 6, biometric chip failures are now grounds for denial. Here's something most travelers have no idea about. Your passport has a biometric chip embedded in it. It stores your photo, fingerprints, and personal data. And starting January 1st, if that chip is damaged, corrupted, or unreadable, your passport is considered invalid. Let me explain what this means. Up until now, border agents could manually verify your identity if the chip malfunctioned. They'd scan the machine-readable zone, check your photo, stamp you through. Not anymore. The new international standards require that chip to be fully functional at all automated border control gates, and most major airports are eliminating manual processing lanes entirely. So how does a chip get damaged? Water exposure, extreme heat, sitting on your passport, storing it near magnets or electronics, even just years of wear and tear. And you won't know it's damaged until you get to the airport and the kiosk spits out an error message. Here's the insider warning. If your passport is more than 5 years old, there's a higher chance of chip degradation. And certain countries, especially in the EU and Asia, are deploying stricter chip reading technology that won't accept even minor errors. What should you do? Most passport agencies and some post offices now offer chip testing services. Get it checked. If there's any failure, apply for a replacement immediately. Because once January 1st hits, a faulty chip means you're not traveling. Number 5. Physical damage. Standards are now zero tolerance. This one's going to shock a lot of people. Passport damage rules just went from subjective to absolute. Used to be a little wear and tear was acceptable. Bent corners, faded pages, even a small tear. As long as your photo and data were clear, most agents would let it slide. Not anymore. The new guidelines define unacceptable damage as any alteration to the passport's physical integrity that could interfere with automated scanning or verification. That includes water damage, ink stains, torn pages, loose bindings, unofficial markings, and even excessive stamp overlap that obscures the machine-readable zone. And here's the kicker. It's no longer up to the agent's discretion. The scanners make the call. If the system can't read it, you're done. Why the change? Because automated border control is the future. Countries are spending billions on e-gates and AI-powered verification systems. And those systems can't make judgment calls. They either read your passport data or they don't. The insider reality? I've seen perfectly valid passports rejected because of a coffee stain on the data page. I've seen travelers denied boarding because their toddler drew a crayon mark on page 6. It sounds extreme, but the machines don't care about context. So check your passport right now. Hold it under a light. Look for discoloration, warping, separation. If there's anything questionable, replace it before January 1st. Don't gamble on this. Number 4. Emergency passport processing times just doubled. Here's a nasty surprise. If you need an emergency passport starting January 1st, the processing time is doubling. Currently, most countries offer emergency passport services with 24 to 48-hour turnaround for urgent travel. That's about to become 72 to 96 hours minimum. Why? Because the new biometric requirements mean every emergency passport now requires chip encoding, quality verification, and system registration before issuance. Let me paint the picture. You're scheduled to fly out for a business trip in 3 days. You realize your passport expired. You rush to the passport office expecting same-day service. They tell you it's a 4-day minimum. Your flight's gone, your meeting's missed, your money's lost. And here's what makes it worse. Emergency passport fees are increasing by 40 to 60% in most countries. You're paying more and waiting longer. The old system is dead. The insider move? Never, ever rely on emergency services. Treat your passport like a ticking time bomb. Set reminders a full year before expiration. Apply for renewal at the 9-month mark. And if you're a frequent traveler, consider applying for a second passport through your country's official duplicate program. Many countries allow this for exactly these situations. Number 3. Dual citizens face new passport matching requirements. If you hold dual citizenship, listen up. This one's specifically targeting you. Starting January 1st, if you enter a country on one passport and attempt to exit on another, you're going to trigger a security investigation. And I'm not talking about a quick question at immigration. I'm talking detained, interrogated, possibly fined, and in extreme cases temporarily banned from re-entry. Here's why. Countries are cracking down on passport fraud and identity switching. The new exit entry systems cross-reference your biometric data at both points. If the passport number doesn't match, red flags go off everywhere. Now, dual citizens have always been allowed to use different passports for entry and exit in their own countries. That's not changing. But when you're transiting through third countries or using visa-free travel privileges, you must maintain passport consistency throughout that entire journey. The insider breakdown. Let's say you're a US-UK dual citizen flying from London to New York via Frankfurt. You enter the UK on your UK passport, transit Frankfurt on your US passport for visa-free entry, then try to board your US flight. That's a mismatch. The airline system sees a UK departure with no corresponding US entry stamp or visa. You're getting pulled aside for verification, possibly missing your flight. The rule is simple now. Pick one passport for the entire trip and stick with it. Only switch when you're physically back in one of your countries of citizenship. There are 2. Digital passport integration becomes mandatory for fast track. This is the future arriving early, and it's going to divide travelers into 2 categories, the fast lane and the everyone else lane. Starting January 1st, major international airports are requiring digital passport enrollment for access to automated immigration, TSA pre-check equivalents, and priority screening lanes. If you haven't linked your passport to your country's digital travel authorization system, you're going through standard processing only. What does this mean practically? In some airports, the difference between a 5-minute immigration experience and a 2-hour queue. Digital passport holders get biometric facial recognition gates. Everyone else gets the traditional officer-staffed desks, which are being reduced in number because governments are funneling resources toward automation. Here's the catch. Digital enrollment isn't automatic. You have to apply through your country's official system, submit additional biometric data, and undergo enhanced background verification. Processing takes 2 to 4 weeks. And if you don't do it, you're stuck in the slow lane indefinitely. The insider advantage? Early adopters are going to breeze through airports while everyone else scrambles. This is your competitive edge for travel in 2026 and beyond. Don't sleep on this. Number 1, third country transit visas are now passport linked. And here's the number 1 rule change that's going to blindside travelers everywhere. Transit visa requirements are now permanently linked to your passport's biometric chip. Let me explain. Right now, if you're transiting through certain countries, like China, Russia, or India, you might need a transit visa depending on your nationality and length of layover. But the rules were fluid. Sometimes you qualified for visa-free transit. Sometimes you didn't. And verification was inconsistent. Starting January 1st, that's all automated. When you book a ticket with a layover in a transit visa country, the airlines system will scan your passport chip, check your nationality data, and instantly determine if you need a visa. If you do and you don't have one, you're not getting a boarding pass. Period. Why does this matter? Because millions of travelers book flights with layovers in places like Dubai, Doha, Istanbul, or Singapore without realizing they're subject to transit regulations. And under the old system, you could sometimes talk your way through or get a visa on arrival. Not anymore. The system decides before you even get to the airport. Here's the insider reality. Budget travel is about to get way more complicated. That ultra-cheap flight with a 14-hour layover in Beijing, if you're American, British, or Canadian, you now need a transit visa pre-approved and digitally linked to your passport before departure. No visa, no boarding pass. No refund. The move? Always research transit requirements when booking. Use your government's official travel advisory sites. And if a deal seems too good to be true, especially with obscure layover cities, assume there's a visa requirement hiding in there. So there you have it. 7 passport rules that go into effect January 1st, 2026, and any one of them could completely derail your travel plans if you're not prepared. The reality is, international travel is getting stricter, more automated, and far less forgiving of mistakes. The days of showing up at the airport and figuring it out are over. Now, it's on you to know these rules, check your passport, and get ahead of the changes before they cost you a trip. If this video just saved you from a denied boarding nightmare, hit that like button and subscribe to Cruise and Flight Insider, because we're always first with the intel that actually matters. Drop a comment and let me know. Are you ready for 2026, or is your passport about to become a problem? I'm your insider. Stay sharp, travel smart, and I'll see you on the next one.